I'm super excited to have Satya Lights on, a dear friend whom I met a number of years ago now at a conference, and
Oh,
we've just kept in touch. And she's a dear sister, doing amazing things in the world. But Satya, so welcome.
thank you. Thank
And
you. So happy to be here.
yeah, my first question is, and I know this is kind of a loaded question, but who were you before the you that you are now?
Completely different being. So this is one of the questions that I actually decided to answer um, in a very, like distilled manner because who I am changed from who I was, who started, like the girl who started to this journey is completely different being. And how it started is the pain of suffering and staying the same was way more than that changing. So I actually decided to change. And um, for me, it has not started like, oh, something really huge happened and I started my awakening journey and healing journey. It didn't happen that way. Um, Although I moved to a country that I have never been before on my own and realizing that I cannot run away from my problems. Here I was with all my problems, and that was my awakening. And then that started the journey itself.
Beautiful. So how did you like you mentioned this pain and suffering. So are you able to share a little bit about what that was, number one? And number
Mhm,
two, how did you identify that you were in pain and suffering?
mhm. So, hmm, so I did not actually like my story is not like one of those, oh, like, oh, this happened and I was, like in depression my entire life. I was the most depressed person that I knew growing up. And my question was, why? Like, why am I experiencing this? Why am I feeling so out of place? So, like, I didn't belong. I didn't, like, I was so angry. And that, like, even in middle school, like 15, 16, I started drinking alcohol and like started the war, me against the world. And then, um, my plan was to run away from this place so that I could maybe possibly belong. And that journey, like of, oh, like I can't run away from my problems didn't start the actual journey. That actually got me, oh, like I'm here. So how can I numb this, what I'm feeling? So I got
Mm.
into um, really exploring with alcohol and um, certain recreational drugs where I could actually numb this. Yet my my guidance system, though, which I can know only now, like I can understand, was really powerful, really strong. And um, I would wake up in the morning and recognizing, okay, like this is only helping in this moment. Like there should be something that can really help me because it's, like I'm working out. It's helping me like 20 minutes or like an hour, and then like I can't like be with myself, be with what I'm feeling. So I would go back into alcohol, and until one day, I was like, okay, this is not how I would like to live my life. And um, it was a trend those days, like trying something, going into something I had no idea what that was. So I started a yoga challenge, 30-day yoga challenge, without ever doing yoga before, and thinking that I can actually do that in 20 minutes in a hot yoga studio with all that toxic body and toxins in my body. I was almost purging. Yes. I decided to stay. I stayed 30 days and more. It became a regular practice. And little did I know, like I was doing somatic work and really releasing a lot of stuff that I had no idea that was in me. Like I started really doing trauma work without knowing my trauma, which was like I got to learn my biggest trauma in a plant medicine ceremony years later when I started actually having capacity, more capacity to understand. So that was in a nutshell me. And I'm still work in progress.
Mhm. Yeah, we all are. Um, how do you like? What would you say to somebody who's? Because I imagine I know lots of depressed people that are like they're so in their stuff, and because it's a disease, right? So how or what would you say to somebody who's dealing with that disease and just feels like there's no hope, there's no use, there's nothing I can do about it. Like I am this way, and like it's good enough. Like I have to settle for this.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. So there's two ways, and really, one is to really, like there gets to be a really big wake up call for us to see what we're in because we're asleep to it, because that's what we know, and we don't know anything else outside of it. And the other one is really seeing, okay, there's different ways in which these people are living. Is there, like really staying in the question, and exploring that question, and not like the invite from me would be not waiting for the shit to hit the fan, really, and start like really exploring how it would be like small tiny bits of change. If you think about it, if you're only pivoting like a little tiny bit in the long run, you're actually changing a total timeline. And we can totally start small and changing one thing at a time, and asking for help, I think, would be another smart step.
Yeah, that's beautiful. With regards to your
Mhm.
own journey, do you any other like perceived struggles or obstacles that you really um had to first become aware of and then overcome? And what were the tools, like you mentioned yoga as a tool? What were some of the other tools that you used to overcome them?
Mhm. So, how I was experiencing my personal experience, there was this um, desire to share, and the and um, I didn't know it then, like really oppressed and suppressed being. I was abused like my entire childhood, and it's like all sorts of abuse. And I didn't know that how it was affecting me, like while I was actually like suffering. And like I couldn't really speak my truth. I couldn't even speak. I couldn't even share. Like I was living with a lot of shame and really creating experiences where um like adding more shame into the experience. Yes, I'm doing all this like new path, but my path of changing and going through a certain direction, it did not start with like, okay, I'm dropping everything here and we are going here. It wasn't like that. It was like me still not speaking, being true to myself, really, and um doing all the things that I was doing, but also adding these new ways of being. And that like um um separation within the same experience was also creating more shame and more clothing, more shutdown in my system. And
Mhm.
how I was experiencing was like, okay, like there is this energy that wants to express itself, yet I don't have the tools. Like I don't have my voice. Like every time I wanted to speak, I didn't know that I would go into freeze response and shut down, hide, and like disconnect from the world. And really learning about so many tools along the way. The first couple tools that I started exploring was yoga and breath work, and then I got into deep meditation. And then I met with plant medicines along the way, and I really went deep with it, with them, with many different plant medicines, and that became the path. I took break from it. I started really exploring so many different modalities, really, and through that journey, I actually learned so many modalities where I'm actually supporting people right now. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Can you remember the feeling, what you felt back then versus how you feel now?
Yeah. And that became the piece of work, like, like the body of work that I'm offering right now. It's just like really feeling unworthy and small and inadequate. And like the actual emotion that was running it was like shame, a lot of shame, like my core wound, even, like in certain, like it was shame because I mean, now that I'm understanding, it's like it, I wasn't worthy to speak up my truth. Like I couldn't express anything, and like a lot of physical abuse and like like really free response. I was not even here, like, and the feeling were now it's like, oh, um, there is a way to actually unfreeze yourself from this experience. And there's a way to speak your truth. There's a way that you can, there's this path you can walk that you can actually meet yourself along the way. Because I don't think, like with all the parts that were lost along the way, I just created, because being my true self was so painful, I created all these illusions. It wasn't, I'm not going to say lies, but I started believing, making myself believe all the stories that I created to stay safe with that level of mind. And as, we are doing our cleaning, like with lack of a better word, as we're doing the integration work or the healing work, it's now that, oh, like this is how I am, like when I'm
Mm,
present, when these parts are here and they have space to be expressed. Because now there's a table, all the parts, the shadow and light, we're sitting around the table, and oh, like I can actually, if I'm angry, I can express my anger, like because
mm,
like as a child, we refuse, like you can't, like to your primary caregivers, you can't express your anger. It's not safe, dangerous. So now I think
mm,
finding safety within and in the body, there's this level of expression, and that became the body of work that I'm offering to the world.
mm. Love that. I can't wait to go into that in our
Mm.
upcoming session. Um, so last question for this section. Is there anything you'd like to share that would maybe go against like conventional wisdom or myths out there as it pertains to peak performance and achieving peak performance in not just in one area but in every area of life?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Um, I'd like to say so. Yes. I think without tending to our nervous system and our body and our traumas from the body, we can't really achieve a peak performance, whatever that may be for us. And we cannot achieve it. We can't biohack our traumas while they are still creating drama in our life. And you know, we can think about it. If you're in a freeze response and you're waking up with like, feeling you're not this place, you're not even here, whatever supplements you take, it's not going to really support your performance because there's nobody home. You don't have the tools to, you know, um, really regulate your nervous system. Because I think like nervous system regulation is the ultimate peak performance tool, which I think we're now slowly getting to learn.
Mm, mhm. Yeah, I would agree with that so much.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to share? Just with regards to peak performance or your journey, or to support others in their journey of first realizing that
Mhm,
maybe they could make some changes in certain
mhm,
areas and aspects of their life,
mhm,
and then how to
mhm.
make those changes.
Yeah. One of the things that I can share with people who are like interested enough in being a vibrational match to this broadcast right here is if you're here, if you're curious, there is something, really pulling you towards this direction. So, like being really curious and really listening to that voice. And um, and I think like once we are actually asking the questions and really aligning ourselves, the answers will reveal themselves, and it's going to be so worth really walking this path. I'm not going to say it's always easy. I don't think it's ever easy. Like it never gets easier because the more we have capacity to feel, the more stuff that we didn't allow ourselves to feel all the time comes to surface. And being human is to be, it's, like we're all sentient beings, we're all feeling. And we forgot to feel along the way, and now we're actually teaching ourselves. So, um, my recommendation to everyone who's really tuning in is to trust and walk this path, and it's going to be worth it.